This video is going to go over EMDR strengthening technique. I'm actually going to use an example and walk you through how to use it. This is educational, but it's also something that maybe you could even try. The idea here is that sometimes we aren't ready for a deep trauma reprocessing like we do in EMDR, but we're ready for just some strengthening, kind of get feeling a little bit better, feeling a little bit more tapped into some of our strengths. And this can help us just feel better on our day to day. And then it can also help us be ready for the deeper trauma reprocessing that we want. I'm just going to dive right into the example. So let's say that one of the things that we were wanting to target in EMDR is some issues that are coming up at work, how you're showing up at work. Maybe you're really feeling bad about yourself. You're really self-critical. This is holding yourself back. And we have an inkling that this is connected to some deeper childhood stuff, right? Maybe feelings of inadequacy that were started back in childhood. Instead of going back to the childhood stuff initially, we're just going to focus on the current stressors and strengthening that. So let's say one of the things that's bothering you the most is this interaction with a particular colleague or your supervisor, someone at work that you have to interact with on a very semi-regular basis, right? At least weekly. What we would do in EMDR strengthening is actually have you go back to a time when you had to interact with this person in the last week, the last month, and it was not great. You didn't show up, is how I usually say it. You didn't show up the way that you really want to in the future. Maybe you got really critical. Maybe you stayed really quiet. Maybe you got really aggressive. So it doesn't really matter, but you showed up in a way that you don't really want to repeat next time. You want to have other skills available or other qualities, what we call them, available to you next time something like this happens or something similar happens in the future. So I would have you go back to that encounter. So let's say it's with a colleague and they're giving you some feedback on a shared project. You are feeling that this is threatening to you. It's starting to make you feel like you're stupid and dumb. And this makes you feel really assertive. And you get really demanding and you get bigger. Okay. Of course, everyone's going to respond differently, but this is the example. And this is the part that really bothers you, right? Even just leading up to that, right? That feels like the worst, right? When they're starting to give you feedback, when they're starting to question, oh, you're feeling that tightness in your stomach, you're feeling that rush of emotion. And then you start kind of defending yourself and becoming maybe a little bit more assertive than is really indicated in the situation. So we're going to go ahead and highlight that moment. So what the moment is the colleague giving you some feedback. How do you feel? Would be the question. You're feeling threatened. You're feeling small. You're feeling like they think you're stupid. And how is your body responding to this? Your body's maybe getting a rush of emotion. Your body's ready to fight. It's ready to defend itself, right? Okay, so now we've kind of activated, this is similar to EMDR reprocessing, but we've activated your whole body, your emotions, everything in your system. And then what I would say is, what quality do you need in that moment to help you show up the way you intend to? Some people have a hard time with this phrasing, but essentially what we're trying to get at is, what quality do you want to have at your fingertips in that moment? Right? Now this, we just kind of tap into your intuition here. I'll just say it's a great quality to start with if you're having a hard time going, I don't know what quality. It's a nice quality to start with. It's just having some being patient, being calm, being present, right? Usually I just call it calm in a session. If someone's like, I don't know. I said, well, let's just start with calm, right? Because either you're getting activated, you're getting, or you're kind of starting to withdraw. Coming to that calm place almost neutralizes, and then it can open us up to maybe see what else. If you're not having a hard time coming up with a quality, you know exactly what quality you need in that moment, then you can skip calm if you want to, but calm is just there to help. So let's just say we're going to activate calm. So what I would say is, okay, now we're going to grab this scene with your colleague and we're going to put that to the side. And now we're going to Go to a time in your past when you felt calm. This can be any time in your past, right? Anything at all. On vacation, could be your morning cup of tea. It could be whatever, right? So you just kind of land in a moment where you feel calm and you use imagery to kind of go back there. Oh man, my cup of tea in the morning. It feels so nice and calming. The house is quiet. The tea smells good. It feels good. The sun is starting to rise. So you're just going back into that moment until you start feeling that sense of calm show up in your body right now. Once you feel that that quality has been evoked in your body, then you add the slow bilateral stimulation. Okay. I'm doing it here so you can see, but any bilateral stimulation, any alternative tapping, but we want to go slow. We want to go slow, almost just a meditative kind of while you're feeling that calm. And it's pretty short, and you go, oh, I feel calm. Great. Now let's go back to that situation with a colleague. What do you notice now? Now, a lot of times people say, I notice a little bit more space here. If you tapped in calm, then you're going to probably say, I feel like I'm a little more calm. Okay. And then I'll say, so what other quality do you need in this moment? And then here we go with whatever, right? It just is very particular. It's very personal. So, but you may say, I want to feel more confident. I want to have a better boundary. It doesn't really matter what it is, right? But any quality that you want in that moment. So let's just say, I want to have a healthier boundary. I want to have a broader perspective on the situation. Whatever it is, okay, great. Let's go back to a time when you had that quality, when it was there at your fingertips, when it was present in your life. And you'd use the same thing we did with calm. You go back to that moment, you go back to that memory, you remember who you were with, where you're at, what you're doing, until you feel that quality that you're trying to evoke show up in your body. You're going to feel it, right? It's going to just show up somewhere. And so just notice that. And then when you notice that feeling evoked, that quality evoked, you add the slow tapping. And you're just going to do that 6, 12 times. It's not long. You don't need to sway. That's just something I do. But then, you feel it and then you say, okay, now go back to the scene with your colleague. What are you noticing now? Now, you may say, I'm feeling great. Or you may say, well, it's still not feeling good. Okay, well, what other quality do you want? We could do 2, 3, maybe 4 qualities. More than that is probably not going to be necessary. But do as many qualities that you need until you feel like when you go back to that scene, you're feeling good. You're feeling like, okay, I got this. Now, what do we do with that then? What we do is that we project into the future to another time in the coming week or month when you're going to have a similar situation. And this time you imagine yourself doing that whole scene from beginning to end with the qualities that you just evoked. So you show up calm, you show up confident, you show up with some boundaries, whatever the qualities were, right? And the first time is going to be a little bumpy. You're going to struggle through it a little bit. That's very common. It's not for everybody, but most people kind of struggle. That's okay. We're going to do this at least 3 times. So just kind of use that first one as just a practice. But you're going to notice, well, what is that? How do you show up then? If you're calm, if you're confident, if you have boundaries, what does that open up for you? You're going to notice a new perspective. You're going to notice something, right? So go with it and really be detailed in how you've played out from beginning to end. Then do it again, and then do it again. Every time you have the slow alternating tapping, okay? And then after you've done that 3 times, the last time you add a little bump in the road. Make sure it's little. Don't go crazy here. Just a little bump in the road, but make sure then you visualize yourself getting back on, okay? Having those 4, especially with the bump in the road on the top, shows like you can do this. Even if it's not perfect, you can still find your way there. It's kind of a nice little cherry on top. I hope this was helpful in just doing some strengthening for the situation that is bothering you. Okay. Have fun visualizing and practicing.